Well, the latest we're tracking, CIA Director John Ratcliffe has said in a statement that the agency had obtained a body of credible evidence that indicates Iran's nuclear program has been severely damaged. He said this after the recent strikes, underscoring a broad intelligence community effort is ongoing to determine the impact of the US strikes on 3 of Iran's nuclear sites on Saturday. Now, without providing details, Mr. Ratcliffe said the CIA's evidence included new intelligence from a historically reliable source and method that several key Iranian nuclear facilities were destroyed and would have to be rebuilt over the course of years. Vishal has been tracking the latest for us. He joins us live at the moment from the newsroom. Vishal, take us through the latest updates.
Well, this CIA statement comes in the wake of the US report, the US intelligence report that was leaked to the US media yesterday. And in that report, it was clearly mentioned that damage to the nuke sites have been done, but they have mostly been on top of the nuclear sites. When it comes to the main nuclear sites below the ground, they are mostly intact. So that was the main bit that the US intel report had highlighted. And that had been refuted by the US president as well as the White House. US president especially had gone on to Truth Social and branded the US media as fake news. So that goes to show CIA has now come up and sort of ratified and sort of corroborated that statement from Trump that indeed some damage was done, severe damage was done, but it still does not say that the nuclear program is totally obliterated, because that is what Trump has repeatedly been claiming, that Iran's nuclear program has totally been wiped out. So there have been inconsistencies with the statements within the administration, and Iran at the same time has said that there has been damage, but has not accepted that the nuke program has been wiped out. So only in the future, in the near future, or about a year from now, we'll have some clarity as to what exactly happened.
Right, Vishal, thanks so much as always for joining us with that update. In fact, there is a chance that much of Iran's highly enriched uranium survived Israeli and US attacks. This is what the UN nuclear watchdog chief has said. This as Iran's parliament has unanimously agreed to suspend all cooperation with the IAEA, which is the UN's nuclear inspectorate. Just listen into what the IAEA Director General had to say.
I had received a letter from the Iranian foreign minister saying that they had taken protective measures already. They did not get into details into what that meant, but clearly that was the implicit meaning of that. So we can imagine that this material is there. So for that to confirm, for the whole situation to evaluate, we need to return. Reconstruction of the infrastructure is not impossible. First, there has been some that survived the attacks, and then this is work that Iran knows how to do. It would take some time.
By the way, the US President Donald Trump has said that Washington would hold fresh talks with Iran next week, but signaled a nuclear deal isn't necessary after the weekend strikes on Tehran's enrichment facilities. Speaking at the NATO summit, Trump suggested he might ease his maximum pressure campaign on Iran, saying he had no problem with China buying oil from the Islamic Republic, which needs oil money to put the country back into shape. The US president also pushed back on reports that the US strikes set back Iran's nuclear program. But let's switch tracks. The defense minister is speaking at the moment. Listen in to Rajnath Singh's remarks.
And the root cause of these problems is increasing radicalization, extremism and terrorism. Excellency, peace and prosperity cannot coexist with terrorism and the proliferation of weapons of the mass destruction in the hands of the non-state actors and the terror groups. Dealing with these challenges require decisive action, and we must unite in our fight against these evils for our collective safety and security. It is imperative that those who sponsor, nurture and utilize terrorism for their narrow and selfish ends must bear the consequences. Some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provide shelter to terrorists. There should be no place for such double standards. SCO should not hesitate to criticize such nations. India's zero tolerance for terrorism is manifest today through its actions. This includes our right to defend ourselves against terrorism. And we have shown that epicenters of terrorism are no longer safe, and we will not hesitate to target them. We should also take proactive steps to prevent the spread of the radicalization among our youth. The RADS mechanism of SCO has played a significant role in this regard. The joint statement of the Council of SCO heads of state on countering radicalization leading to terrorism, separatism, and extremism, issued during India's chairmanship, symbolizes our shared commitment. Excellency, we should seek to counter the technology used by terrorists, including drones, for cross-border smuggling of weapons and drugs. In our interconnected world, traditional borders are no longer the sole barriers against threats, and instead we face an intricate web of challenges that range from transnational terrorism and cyber attacks to hybrid warfare. These threats do not respect national boundaries, and they demand a unified response rooted in transparency, mutual trust, and collaboration. India reaffirms its resolve to fight terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. On 22nd April 2025, the terror group, the Resistance Front, carried out a dastardly and a heinous attack on the innocent tourists in Pahalgam, in the Indian state of the Jammu and Kashmir. 26 innocent civilians, including a Nepali national, were killed. Victims were shot after they were profiled based on the religious identity. The Resistance Front, which is a proxy of UN-designated terror group Lashkar-e-Toiba, claimed responsibility for the attack. The pattern of the Pahalgam terror attack matches with LET's previous terror attacks in India. In exercising its right to defend against terrorism and preempt as well as deter further cross-border terrorist attacks, India on 7th May 2025 successfully launched Operation Sindoor to dismantle cross-border terrorist infrastructure. We reiterate the need to hold the perpetrators, organizers, financiers, and sponsors of reprehensible acts of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism, accountable and bring them to justice. Any acts of terrorism are criminal and unjustifiable regardless of their motivation, whenever, wherever, and by whomsoever committed. SCO members must condemn this evil unequivocally. Excellency, India is committed to increasing its connectivity with the Central Asia. Better connectivity not only enhances mutual trade but also fosters mutual trust. However, in these efforts, it is essential to uphold the basic principles of the SCO Charter, particularly respecting the sovereignty and the traditional integrity of member states. India has been consistent and steadfast in its policy in support of peace, security, and stability in Afghanistan. Our immediate priorities in Afghanistan include providing humanitarian assistance to Afghan people and contributing to Afghanistan's overall developmental needs. As Afghanistan's largest regional development partner, India continues to implement capacity building initiatives for the Afghan people. Excellencies, the COVID-19 pandemic has laid bare the fact that the pandemics recognize no boundaries and that no one is safe till everyone is safe. This is a warning sign of how non-traditional security challenges like pandemics, climate change, food and water security, and associated societal disruption can impact our people's lives. These emerging challenges cannot be addressed without responsible policies and cooperation among nations. India's initiative on coalition for disaster resilient infrastructure aims not only at promotion of disaster resilient infrastructure but also infrastructure risk management, standards, financing and recovery, etc. It is also an example of how countries are coming together to create and share capabilities to deal with humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. We have affirmed this intent through our policy through the acronym SAGAR, which implies security and growth for all in the region, and India's expanded vision Mahasagar, meaning mutual and holistic advancement for security and growth across regions. Security and stability are most essential components to create a conducive environment for growth and economic development of the region. India has sought to build consensus on dealing with global challenges on the basis of motto One Earth, One Family, One Future, which is founded on our civilizational ethos of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. Mutual understanding and mutual benefit must be our guiding principles. Excellency, India supports greater cooperation and mutual trust among SCO members. We should collectively aspire to fulfill the aspirations and expectations of our people as well as tackle today's challenges. We must all be in lockstep in our endeavor in strengthening stability and security in our neighborhood. Excellency, I am optimistic that the today's discussions would help us to deepen the understanding of our shared security challenges and explore new areas for future cooperation in the defense and the security field. Thank you very much, Excellency.
Well, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh is in China, as you can just see, for the Shanghai Cooperation Summit. He just addressed why this summit is historic. Regional peace and security has been highlighted as the main mission. The key watch is on the bilaterals that are expected to happen with his counterparts as far as the China and Russia counterparts are concerned. Well, he's representing India at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in China. High-stakes bilaterals are expected, as I mentioned, including talks with China's Defense Minister, Admiral Dong Jun, just months after both sides agreed to disengage in eastern Ladakh. Now, Rajnath Singh will also meet his Russian counterpart as India eyes deeper defense cooperation. But this SCO meet, I'll tell you why it's so significant. It comes amid renewed focus on regional peace, counter-terror efforts, and also multilateral ties, with India reaffirming its commitment to the organization's principles of sovereignty and mutual respect. For the key takeaways from the Defense Minister's address at the SCO summit, let's go across to Vishal, who joins us live from the newsroom. Vishal, take us through the key takeaways.
Well, the biggest takeaway is that Rajnath has highlighted some countries that support terrorism, and he has clearly stated that some countries use cross-border terrorism as an instrument of policy and provides shelter to terrorists. So that's a reference to Pakistan. That's anyone's guess. And he has gone on to quote that there should be no place for such double standards, and SCO should not hesitate to criticize such nations. So SCO is one of the most important groups in Asia, Shanghai Cooperation Organization. It houses a lot of nations that support Pakistan. So it will have to be seen whether SCO actually condemns the Pahalgam attack or not. That will be clear when the official statements are released. Rajnath has also said that India believes that reformed multilateralism can help build cooperation. So clearly highlighting that India is ready to partner with a lot of nations, and clearly the cross-border terror infrastructure has also been highlighted, because he has mentioned that the cross-border infrastructure needs to be dismantled. That is what the appeal from the Indian Defense Minister has been. He's gone on to say that the victims in the Pahalgam attack, they were solely killed on the basis of their religious identity. We all remember those dastardly attacks that resulted in the deaths of at least 26 innocent people. Those gunmen that had come from Pakistan, they asked the people their religion, then they shot them in front of their wives. The terror act has shocked the nation and the world. So this has been the highlight of the speech so far. We'll have to see what the official statement from HCO says now.
Vishal, thanks so much for joining us with that lowdown. Now, switching tracks, US President Donald Trump left the NATO summit feeling warmer towards the transatlantic bloc after months of criticizing European allies over security commitments. Trump says his views changed after NATO leaders showed they take defense spending seriously by agreeing to commit 5% of GDP to the sector. But this gathering in the Netherlands was tailored for the American president, some analysts argue, designed around brevity, flattery towards Donald Trump, and the sidestepping of touchier subjects like Ukraine. But even as Europe celebrates keeping Trump on board, the continent's leaders could have a difficult time convincing the public that a big defense spending push is necessary. As I mentioned, this as NATO allies agree to hike defense spending by 5%. Just listen in to the US president's remarks.
In a very historic milestone this week, the NATO allies committed to dramatically increase their defense spending to that 5% of GDP, something that no one really thought possible. And they said, "You did it, sir, you did it." Well, I don't know if I did it, but I think I did. This will be known as the Hague Defense Commitment, which is pretty good, pretty appropriate. When the allies reach this number, it will add more than $1 trillion a year. Think of that, $1 trillion per year to our common defense, and this is a monument really to victory, but it's a monumental win for the United States.
And for further clarity, we have with us Glenn Carl, former Deputy National Intelligence Officer for Transnational Threats, also the National Intelligence Council, former officer from the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. Mr. Carl, always a pleasure to have you on NDTV. Thank you so much for your time. Let's just start with the optics and the outcome. Was this 5% pledge a genuine strategic shift by NATO, or would you argue that it's largely political theater designed to appease the US president?
Well, the theater is significant, actually, because that's the way to win favor and support from Donald Trump. I mean, I think the lesson of the past decade is that all of us involved in international relations and politics in the United States, anyway, need to be psychologists rather than political scientists first, and to know how to manage a mercurial defensive personality. So I'm not being facetious. The theater was led to substance, but it is a significant change to go from 2% or haltingly 2% of GDP for NATO members to 5% is an historic change. Now, would that have happened had Russia not tried to gobble up Central Europe? No, but it also would not have happened if you had someone who was not as mercurial and demanding as Donald Trump, and clearly willing to walk away from NATO unless NATO changed. So those two things have led to an historic day, yes.
Right, so on that note then, you've seen how intelligence aligns with policy. From your perspective, is this 5% hike grounded in real threat assessments, Russia, Iran, or even China, or is this about recalibrating alliance dynamics in an age of US unpredictability?
Well, I think both statements are true. Both aspects are real and significant. It is pretty clear. I would agree with the general assessment that the United States cannot be counted on as uniformly as prior to Donald Trump's emergence in the national scene in the United States. Also, it's certainly Russia has been made pretty clear about its refusal to see the westernization of Central Europe, and it's invaded a country and tried to destroy it in order to stop that from happening. So those are real threats. Now, the issue from China and defense issues from relevant to NATO, that's also real, but obviously that's on the other side of the earth and is not directly an existential issue. The trade issues and economic ones are the primary issue for Europe with regard to China, but it's not irrelevant. Certainly, no. So substance, yes, and also standing up without having to lean on the United States. Both things are actually happening.
Indeed. Always a pleasure to have you on NDTV, as I mentioned, Mr. Karl. We look forward to keeping a close eye on the key developments with you. Thank you so much for your time. Meanwhile, the US President said, after talks with Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky, that he's considering sending more missile batteries to Ukraine to help Kyiv fend off Russian attacks. Trump said the anti-missile missiles are very hard to get, but that we're going to see if we can make some of them available. On that note, we're slipping into a very quick break. Back in a moment with the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned. Well, Shell has rebuffed a report that said that the oil giant was in early talks to take over the rival company BP. An agreement between the two, if it happens, do remember they're rival oil corporations, but if they agree to a deal, this would be the largest oil deal in modern times. Thank you so much for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. As always, we'll keep tracking the latest for you. Do stay tuned.